guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net, the flagship of stupidity, mostly because I'm in charge. I'm your host this week, Mike the Birdman, but I'm not alone as I travel down this lonely road, this boulevard of broken dreams, depression, sadness, and something else. I'm joined by my man in Saskatoon,
JT from Saskatoon. Good afternoon. First mate dumbass, ready and willing to do whatever, sir.
Yep, it is good to have JT on the show. For those of you that don't know, JT and I, and occasionally guests, do TWIG Sunday Funnies, which comes out usually about once a month to every 2 months, depending on our schedules and our lives. We actually just recorded an episode on on Marvel's scorecard on Disney Plus. We talk about Loki, Black Widow, and everything else up to current. Hopefully that should be out fairly soon because Marvel's What If premieres on Wednesday.
JT is so happy.
I'm so looking forward to that. So yeah, really, really looking forward to that. But as we often do here on the show, we typically talk about each other's weeks and what has been going on leading up to the show as we record this on Sundays. Okay, so this week, I got zucked. I got fucked by the Zuck. And I've only ever had my account restricted twice in my life. Once was for somebody posted a picture. It was at an AEW show, and somebody posted Persona 5 sucks on a sign. Literally, they brought the sign to the arena and held that up. And I wrote under the comments, "I'll kill him. Strike one." I'm like, you can't be fucking serious. But okay. And yet I took it. I took my licks like a good person and said, all right, fine, fuck, whatever. So then comes my next brilliant plan. So for those of you that know and don't know, I use edibles for pain relief because of my tailbone, my pinched nerve, and just generally being handicapped. Plus, it makes life a hell of a lot more interesting. So I decided in my infinite wisdom, well, I'm going to have myself a high dose and some oil, and I'm going to sit down and watch Space Jam: A New Legacy with LeBron James, King James. And the movie starts, and all is well. And then the algorithm, Ali G Rhythm, shows up, played by Don Cheadle. And I am posting a running commentary on Facebook and on Discord.
Reading that stuff.
Yeah, and I'm just
so good.
And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And I said, and I quote, "I'm gonna flail at Don Cheadle. That's right, I'm gonna kick his ass." So either I got flagged by the algorithm itself or somebody reported me. I was put in Facebook jail for 24 hours because of Don Cheadle.
Well, that's what happens when you threaten the war machine, my dude.
I guess so. So he was like, boom, looking for this. So after my unjust imprisonment in Facebook jail, I came out smelling like roses and sunshine. I posted on Twitter and Instagram what was going on. And I decided my nemeses have evolved. Now I have 3 nemesi, if you wish. For those of you that don't know, I have 3 of them. The first being a Canadian children's entertainer, Eric Negler. He's a fine person, as far as I know. There was some controversy with him, and evidently, whatever, if you want to go look it up, there is some stuff there. But the reason he's my nemesis is because I was living in a different town where he happened to be living, and I just found this immensely amusing. He ran like an antique shop with his wife or partner, or whatever. And Blair wakes me out of a dead sleep. And I'm talking to Eric Negler in my sleep. And for those of you that don't know, in the United States, you used to have a show called The Elephant Show. And they would sing and dance, Sharon, Lois, and Bram, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about. And the line used to be, "Skinnamarink dinky dink, I love you," which is a song, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in my dream, I said, "Skinnamarink dink, you fuck." And that has been a reoccurring theme in my life ever since. Nemesis number 2 comes courtesy of CTV's Corner Gas. And I don't know what it is about this series that drives me right up the fucking wall. But every time Brent Butt speaks, I feel it is a personal insult to me drawing breath. And then the show ended, and it was fine. Life was great. Life moved on. Babies were born. People died. World events changed. Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fucking animated series came out. And I don't know how or why, but I'm pretty sure someone at Facebook HQ would show me these ads endlessly. Or when I signed up to Crave a couple years ago, which is a Canadian streaming service, there was one specific advertisement, and I will never forget it. They got Bret the Hitman Hart to voice a character on Corner Gas. So Mr. Sharpshooter himself takes on Bret Butt, and I don't know how the episode ever resolves because it'll be a cold day in hell before I watch that. And then just recently on my Facebook, guaranteed 2-3 times a day, Facebook ads show up for Corner Gas, the animated series, the final season. No, get fucked, go to hell, eat shit. I don't like you. I don't need parts of that anyway. I'm not that sick.
Okay,
And then,
I agree with your hatred of Corner Gas. No, I love the show just fine. I think it's one of the best examples of a Canadian-made television series to come out in the last, 15, 20 years. Gotta be fair.
Yes.
Okay. But, and if you've seen, I'm sure you've seen pictures of Mike on the interwebs, folks. He is not of slight build.
Yeah, I'm not a tiny guy.
Yes, I am not nearly Mike's size, but I'm kind of husky. There's a lot to love. When Corner Gas first came out, I was working at 7-Eleven. I wore a gas jockey style shirt like Brent Butt in that series. I have glasses and I make glib, sarcastic comments every day for the first 4 years, because at the end of between the fourth and the fifth seasons, I quit working at 7-Eleven. Every day, somebody's like, "Hey, is your dad?" And it got to the point where I perfected the look. That look that your parents give you when you done goofed?
Mm-hmm.
And they wish all the violence in the world upon you, but they're not going to because you're their flesh and blood. I perfected my look. I would stare people into submission when they ask me if Brent Butt is my dad. He is not. My dad was Rick Todderin. He's long since gone to his reward. I miss you every day, Dad. But I hate Brent Butt because every day. So, please continue, Mike.
Okay. So, then enter Thunderdome, Don Cheadle. Now, I like him as War Machine. He's better than Terrence Howard. I think that's the guy who played it in the first Iron Man. And then I love him in Ocean's 11. Or not Ocean's 11.
The Ocean
12
series.
and 13. Yeah, the Ocean series. Fucking love his character. I think he's fantastic. He's a wonderful actor.
Yeah, Badger.
But something about this rubbed me the wrong way. So if I ever get a chance to meet Don Cheadle in person, I'm actually going to tell him, would you officially be my nemesis? And I will tell him the story in full detail, how I got high and watched Space Jam and I was disgruntled. I think he would have a laugh at it. Yeah, I really do.
As long as you don't make it too creepy.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to be like, dude, so here's what happened. I got fucked in the Zuck. And it's partially my fault and yours. Because let's be frank here, folks. I'm not going to flail or kick anyone's ass. I literally only have a leg to stand on. What am I going to do? Hit you with my nub? So no. So other than that,
sorry, I just pictured that you in your wheelchair just back and forth, constantly tapping with the nub.
That's right. I'm going to give you some nubbin lovin'. So I was like, all right. And then the rest of this week has been spent kind of doing my own thing. I've recorded a couple episodes of Future Imperfect and Loose Cannon with Aaron Paulier. We're going to be talking about Trancers. We're going to be talking about the RoboCop franchise. We're recording one on a werewolf movie called Dog Soldiers. And we got some other really cool shit coming up over the next few weeks while Alex is just taking care of the back end and posting episodes and doing the odd review for us now and again. So that's what I've been doing, and if you've been following my Twitter, which is at BirdmanDodd, I've been taking photographs in Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I bought the game months ago, but on Xbox. I bought it on PS5 because one day I was just like, you know what, fuck it, this is what I want, and I've been honestly having a pretty good time with it. So I'm very surprised. Just having this kind of time because it is still the summertime, so we're hoping to kind of wind things down, just have a little bit of fun. Because I've obviously been sick since February. So anyway,
Well, to be fair, Mike, you've been sick in the head for years.
it's true. Okay, so what about you, JT? What has your week looked like this past?
Oh dear God, the flashbacks. Uh, it hasn't been all that bad. Anyone who knows me knows I don't ever take time off from work. And this last weekend, I took the 31st, the 1st, and the 2nd off from working at this liquor store here in Saskatoon and went home to the family farm. I had some family coming in from out of town, hadn't seen them in God knows how long. And it's one of those things where there was like at least, let's say, 15 minutes total, to put a number on it, of me considering like moving back to like just Yorkton and moving out of Saskatoon. Not that Saskatoon's a bad city, it's just there, it's the pace, you know, for as we as it is compared to other cities in Canada. It's just like I hadn't been out of Saskatoon in a couple of years. I hadn't taken time off. Like I was burning out so bad. So it was great to go home and rest and relax and recharge. Met my younger brother Joseph's his fur baby, as Wiley is to Mike. Joe and his fiancee Ellen have a purebred Welsh corgi named Alfie. Full name Sir Alfred the Bold Totterin. And this dog is the literal incarnation of the phrase, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. I love him with all my heart. Like he just like walks right up, crawls into my lap, just sits there licking me for 5 minutes. And I was like, what was I pissed about at work? You know, it's the love of a furry friend. So, you know, I got a nice recharge. My week was pretty run of the mill. Like I actually have customers who will come in, hey, what's new, JT? And I was like, nothing. And the next thing I know, they're angry at me. Like, fine, don't tell me how you're doing. It's like, I have an uneventful life, Mike. Nothing changes except my eating habits, maybe. You know, so the biggest thing this week, and it's something Mike knows about, folks, is I provide Mike with research material and other things. Nothing illicit, I swear. I swear. Did you get that thing I sent you?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So my internet went to shit this last week on Tuesday. Like I got on, and it's one of those things. I'm in the middle of watching. I found a channel on YouTube that has like the complete series run of Da Vinci's Inquest, and I've been powering through that night because it was a review you and Alex did a couple of weeks ago on the show, and you mentioned the actor Nicholas Campbell, who is the star of Da Vinci's Inquest. And I was like, I never actually watched that series, so I'm looking around. I found it on YouTube, whatever. And I'm halfway through this one episode, the tail end of the first season, and then it sits and spins, and it sits and spins, and an hour later, it's still sitting and spinning till it finally cacks, and you cannot connect to the internet according to my browser. And tried a couple other sites, sit and spin for a bit, and came back. I called the SaskTel. When I got to the internet tech and I told him, like, look, my internet sucks. I haven't been able to log on to anything. I've tried several different sites that I use regularly. When he, looked at my internet from his end, you know what his reaction was?
What?
Jesus. He didn't go into a lot of detail, but apparently my internet connection at some point between me and SaskTel, it was so fouled up, he's surprised that I had internet at all. So I had to go offline, which was really hard because I'm on TikTok and YouTube a lot, and I basically had to go 24 hours without the internet. I definitely went into withdrawal. And I had to wait for a tech to come the next day to replace our modem, and everything's been hunky-dory, sunshine, rainbows, and unicorn farts. And aside from that, really nothing else. I mean, Oh, you'll appreciate this, Mike. I have a rough idea of how many DVDs are in my personal collection. Would you like to throw a number out there?
700.
More.
1,300.
Somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,420 DVDs, give or take.
I think at my highest I was 2,000 something.
Yeah.
But
And that's about a third of that was on the one shelf, because the way the internet and the cable is set up in my house is we have one modem router for the cable, and the internet one's in my bedroom, and it was in a very inaccessible place. I had to basically redesign the layout in my room, but I also had to clear all these DVDs off this one shelf so I could move it without shit getting broken. And I was like, dear Lord, I've got The Chase starring Charlie Sheen and Christy Swanson. I don't remember the last time I watched that movie. I'm fairly certain I got it out of the $5 bin at Walmart. So, like you were saying about selling getting rid of some of your D&D paraphernalia, I'm in the process of going through my entire DVD collection. I'm making 2 piles. Why did I buy this? I'm probably going to watch this. Dear God, how would I live without you? Sadly, that pile is still the biggest. But yeah, that's pretty much my week.
Okay. All right. Well, we have a lot of stuff coming up on the show. You're going to hear Alex's lovely voice as he takes a look at 2 separate games for the PS5 and one for the Nintendo Switch. What are they? You're going to have to stay tuned to find out. But one is a RPG and one is one I've been very curious to try. But first things first, we're going to go over to our friends over in Wizards of the Coast. We're going to visit the city of Waterdeep, I believe, in Forgotten Realms. And we're going to take a look at one of the latest releases from Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. This is D&D Candlekeep Mysteries. We'll be back, guys, right after this. Hey, guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and I'm here to talk to you about one of the latest releases from Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm talking about Candlekeep Mysteries. So this book came out earlier in the year, unfortunately, when I was in the hospital, and I didn't get a chance to really take a look at it till just recently when the summer really kind of opened up and I could perhaps play with my friends again. So I have never been a big fan of the adventure books for pretty much any role-playing game. However, though, my opinion of that is really starting to change, especially in the last year or so, especially when D&D did Rime of the Frost Maiden last year. I really enjoyed that. Curse of Strahd being another fantastic one that now has an expanded setting. So Candlekeep Mysteries was a bit of an odd duck to me because it was 17, I think, short adventures that are only a couple of pages long but have tons of detail and cool new things that you can do. And they're designed from characters 1 to 16, and there is some really interesting writing in here, and I'm not going to tell you what a lot of them are, but I'll tell you about my favorite one, because each adventure starts out the same, more or less. You're in Candlekeep or similar library in Faerun, you could be in Eberron, you could be in Wildmount, you could be anywhere, you could be in your own homebrew setting, just big giant library full of books. Think of Game of Thrones sort of thing, right? So you would come across these books, and the acolytes would maybe give you a book, or a book would maybe fall out on the floor, or something would happen that would draw you to Candlekeep and then set you out on the course of adventure. So the one that I like, this one really caught my attention while I was reading, and it's called The Book of Cylinders. And I'm just going to read you the brief description of it because it's so cool. So this is meant for level 6 characters, so middle of the road early on. Engraved cylinders contained within a book tell a gripping and portentous tale when rolled across wet clay. And when you get into that adventure, you get to meet, I don't know whether they're a new race or not, but they're frog people. You get to meet some evil Yuan-Ti. And one of the coolest setups, and this is the only part that I'm really going to spoil, as you approach one of the locations, you have to go through a fishery. And I know that sounds weird. You're thinking, well, big deal. This isn't friggin' Deadliest Catch. But it is. And if you don't play carefully, you're going to piss something large and probably can snap you in two off. And it's so interesting. And there is a dark moment in that particular adventure where if you don't dispatch some of the bad guys really quickly, they're going to kill something rather young and innocent, and that's all I'm really going to say. But it is wild how some of these adventures kind of play out. There's another one, and it's called Sarah of Yellowcrest Manor. That's meant for level 7 characters. And its description reads as follows. A haunted book points a ghostly finger at the perpetrators of an unsolved mass killing in Waterdeep. Now, typically these adventures are designed for 4 to 6 characters of a particular level. And I'm just kind of reading some of this from the book just so I don't get it wrong. But it's interesting. And having these short one-shot adventures that you can maybe kind of layer into your campaign if you need a break from fighting Strahd or Tiamat or whatever, it's a wonderful way. Like, I really think a lot of these adventures really spurn creative thinking, builds the lore deep if you want, and they're just damned interesting, some of these things. And then another one that I like, it's called The Curious Tale of Wisteria Vale, and a book holds the key to unlocking a bard's prison. Like, I like how you interact with certain kind of character things, plus some of these things are more roleplay focused and skill focused. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do here that you're maybe not going to get in your typical dungeon crawl. Plus there's tons of maps, diagrams, there's enemy stat blocks. Sometimes they tell you, hi, you will need the monster manual or the DM's guide or something. It's in bold, please go to this page or have this ready, stuff like that. And they mostly account for like any kind of variations that could happen. Maybe you did this instead of that sort of thing. So Candlekeep Mysteries was a very pleasant surprise to me. Just the fact that it has so many adventures for so many levels, and the setup for them 9 times out of 10 is genuinely interesting. Some of this stuff I never would have thought of. Like I said, my favorite being A Book of Cylinders. That is creative as hell. So can I recommend Candlekeep Mysteries? If you're looking for one-shot adventures, especially if you have a low-level group, I think there's some fantastic stuff in here. Even some of the kind of higher-level stuff. If your group needs a break from fighting, I don't know, elder red dragons or liches or something, maybe this would be a nice side adventure for your game nights. So Candlekeep Mysteries from Wizards of the Coast gets a definite recommend from us here at This Week in Geek.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek News.
Welcome back, adventurers, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm Mike the Birdman. That's JT from Saskatoon. Well, let's break down the things that happened around the entertainment world of geek, nerd, dork, and dweeb. And we're going to start with a heavy story this week, just so we can get it out of the way. Blizzard President J. Allen Brack is stepping down amid Activision lawsuit controversy. His departure comes in the wake of historic allegations of harassment at Activision Blizzard. J. Allen Brack, the president of Warcraft and Overwatch studio Blizzard Entertainment, is leaving his position less than 2 weeks after an investigation with the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing made explosive allegations of harassment and discrimination within the company. In a statement released by Blizzard, it's announced that Brack will be stepping down, in quotes, and will be replaced by a leadership team of Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra. To all members of the Blizzard community, we want to let you know about an important leadership change at Blizzard Entertainment. Starting today, J. Allen Brack will be stepping down as the leader of the studio, and Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra will be the co-lead Blizzard moving forward. Jen joined Blizzard in January as Executive Vice President of Development, when she's been providing senior development leadership and support to Diablo and Overwatch franchises. Jen is the former head of Vicarious Visions, which is now part of Blizzard Entertainment. I want to say they did the Tony Hawk games. After many years at Xbox, Mike joined the company in 2019 as the Executive Vice President and General Manager of Platform and Technology, where he's been overseeing the evolution of Battle.net and our development services organization. Jen and Mike have more than 3 decades of gaming industry experience between them. Moving forward, they will share responsibilities over game development and company operations. Both leaders are deeply committed To all of our employees, to the work ahead, to ensure Blizzard is the safest, most welcoming workplace possible for women and people of any gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or background, to upholding and reinforcing our values, and to rebuilding your trust. With their many years of industry experience and deep commitment to integrity and inclusivity, Jen and Mike will lead Blizzard with care, compassion, and our dedication to excellence. You will hear more from Jen and Mike soon. The article goes on to say, I'm just going to skip over a couple parts here. Or actually, there's a little bit more of that statement. I'm confident that Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra will provide the leadership Blizzard needs to realize its full potential and will accelerate the pace of change. I anticipate they will do so with passion and enthusiasm, and that they can be trusted to lead with the highest levels of integrity and commitment to the components of our culture that make Blizzard so special. A separate this is another piece. A separate announcement on Activision's investor relations page says that Brack is leaving to pursue new opportunities. He has been president since 2018 and has been with the company since 2006, having previously worked with companies like Origin, Wing Commander, and Sony Online Entertainment Star Wars Galaxies. Brack was only one of two people explicitly named in California's lawsuit, which accused the now former head of Blizzard of failing to deal with internal reports of sexual harassment and sexism, including allegations that former World of Warcraft creative director Alex, I can't pronounce this guy's last name, something Yabari, Afarabi or something, would try and put his arms around and kiss female co-workers at company events. Following staff emails by Activision Blizzard, executives downplaying the allegations, current and former employees at the company signed an open letter and engaged in a walkout last week, calling for several changes to create a safer, more equitable workplace. So far, Blizzard management has not directly responded to any of the employees' demands. Yeah.
Don't be a creep.
Yeah, don't be a creep. When someone says there's fucking... Typically, I think it's the old expression where there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe you should have looked into this a little bit, more. And just because the guy is the creative lead for one of your biggest properties shouldn't mean they're above the law. Like, there's certain toxic behaviors you just shouldn't do.
Yeah, I mean, it says he's named in the lawsuit and he failed. Like, it's not that he was, I mean, if you read the article the way Mike was, and I'm not dissing the way you read the article, my friend, it's just, it sounds like he was harassing somebody, kind of, but you look at it, he didn't deal with this shit, and that's as bad, if not worse, than actually doing where you just kind of tacitly, poo-poo. It's like, he said I looked hot in this shirt, and he's like, he gave you a compliment. What's wrong with that? And it's like, when people are being creeped out by what other people are saying and doing, you should take steps to do that. I mean, reading this article and, reading about the whole situation made me think of, was it last year where it blew up that Warren Ellis, who's a longtime favorite comic creator of mine, it came out that he is accused of grooming female fans for years on his popular message board. And he said, like, look, I didn't realize the way I was operating. Like, he came out, he threw himself on the fire and said, look, I'm sorry, I'll try and do better. Hopefully we can get move beyond this and, we can be cool again. It's stuff like this that makes me think, why does it take so long for this stuff to be called to account?
The fact that he's in power and the head of Blizzard stepping down, okay, that's a great first step, but he's pursuing new opportunities. No, get fucked. I hope something happens. And there's no way Bobby Kotick, the guy that owns Activision, or the CEO, whatever the fuck he is, there's no way he didn't know. There is no way. And there was a second lawsuit filed or something. There's like a class action they're talking about right now, where investors are like, yeah, you lied to us. And if we'd known this was going on, we wouldn't have put our money into you. So hopefully the board will say, like, hey, Bobby, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Like, when I first read about that announcement, because, I haven't played Diablo or Warcraft in forever, but I still dabble in Overwatch now and again. And when I said, as soon as I saw that he's stepping down to pursue news, like, get fucked.
Yeah, you are not stepping down anything. you are the sacrificial lamb and you get to leave looking like you're doing something great. So
Yeah.
no, fuck you, dude. And then finally, before we break out of the heavy stories, Activision Blizzard is losing Overwatch sponsors after lawsuit. Uh, T-Mobile appears to have pulled support from Overwatch and Call of Duty leagues, which is huge news because Call of Duty's World Finals are coming up in like a week or two. Which, by the way, Toronto totally blew it. Last one, we came in second place. We were on one round away from winning it, and somehow we lost in round 11. So, or round 9 out of a best of 9
I
games.
am so far behind on my esports.
All I ever follow is the Toronto Ultra because hometown, and any former members of TK. I think one of the big guys from Team Caliber, his name was Dylan Theory. I think he's the coach of the Paris Legion or the Dallas Empire. It's one or the other. Plus another guy I follow kind of his name is Kenny. He's with the Los Angeles Thieves, formerly the 100 Thieves, and a girl I used to know used to date him. And I haven't heard anything terrible about it. They broke up, but I guess, you must be okay if they talk. So I don't know. Take that little part with a grain of salt. So anyway, in the wake of the lawsuit detailing a sickening culture of harassment at Activision Blizzard, the Overwatch and Call of Duty publisher started to bleed sponsorship. As started by the esports sites Dextero, T-Mobile has apparently pulled support for the professional leagues of both games. T-Mobile has long been a sponsor for Overwatch and Call of Duty leagues, although the telecommunications giant hasn't officially commented about a rift. Most signs suggest that one has occurred. Kotaku reached out to T-Mobile, but did not hear back in time for publication. As Dextero points out, the website for both Overwatch and Call of Duty leagues removes references to T-Mobile at some point in July. On July 21st, both sported the T-Mobile logo. By July 31st, neither did. The 20th entry period of T-Mobile's Call of Duty sweepstakes has been quietly canceled. What's more, team members for the New York Subliners, the Call of Duty team, appear to have taped over the T-Mobile logo on their jerseys, which you've got to admit is kind of hilarious. On July 20th, California, blah, 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 blah. Same stuff I pretty much talked about before. Update, this happened the other day. Coca-Cola and State Farm are both reassessing their partnerships with Activision Blizzard as Overwatch League sponsors, according to the statements provided to Kotaku and the Washington Post. State Farm consistently reviews our marketing agreements and adapts to new ways to reach current and potential customers, a company spokesperson told Kotaku. While the details of our marketing decisions are proprietary, we can confirm that we are in the process of reevaluating our limited marketing relationship with the Overwatch League and do not have any ad placements with Activision Blizzard or their properties. The insurance company has also requested that Activision Blizzard run no State Farm ads during this weekend's Overwatch League matches. Coca-Cola, the Washington reports, is merely taking a step back regarding Overwatch League sponsorship and wouldn't comment on whether it plans to pull advertisements. This broke the other day. According to a new reporting by Polygon, Kellogg's has also pulled ads from Overwatch League. We find these allegations troubling and inconsistent with our commitment to equality, diversity, and inclusion, said Kellogg's spokesperson Cris Bonner in a statement given to Polygon. While Activision Blizzard has announced plans to address the challenging issues it faces, we will not be moving forward with any new programs this year, but will continue to review progress made against their plans.
You done goofed when Cornflakes isn't going to sponsor you.
Well, the fact that Coke is like, hey man, not fucking cool. Although it's so weird. So I spend a lot of time on Twitter, of course, because that's where I hang out. And Best Buy Canada is promoting the Vancouver Titans really hard. I think Circle K, at least in Ontario, is doing
we've
Overwatch
got those cups out here like the last few years. The store that's like 2 blocks from my house gets those limited edition esports like the Titans and a few other Canadian teams.
Yeah, so the fact that they're still promoting all this during these troubling times is, on one hand, completely fucking tone deaf, but I guess they've spent their marketing budget. But you gotta reevaluate now. Hopefully there will be some change coming in Activision Blizzard. I hope so, because I know people in the development side. I know people in the corporate communication side, at least at Activision. I never really had a Blizzard contact. I got like StarCraft 2 when it first came out. And that's pretty much about it. But
yeah, and also, like I said, cornflakes, also Coca-Cola, the product that originally began its life cycle by containing actual cocaine.
yeah, exactly.
There's something innately hilarious about that. And I mean, this is bound to happen when stuff like this is like, yeah, you keep a lid. No, don't keep a lid on. Keep it on. We want the money. We want the money. And then the money goes away. I mean, what are you going to do now?
Yeah, exactly. Like you can't expect no consequences for your actions. And I'll be very curious because I watch Call of Duty League. I'll be very curious to see what ads still run for. I know they ran ads for State Farm as of last weekend, I think. And I don't recall seeing any T-Mobile. Excuse me, folks. And I remember seeing, I think, something for the Army recruiting program, because that makes sense because Activision does like the Veterans Fund or whatever it is. You buy a COD pack, all the proceeds go to like Wounded Warriors or whatever it is, or the Call of Duty Endowment Package, I think is what it's called. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is fucking bad. And the fact that we still haven't had a new COD officially announced with like details and pre-orders and all that shit, because normally we know by the end of June at the latest. So this is the latest they've ever held out a Call of Duty reveal. Obviously pandemic. Sorry. I'm having a low sugar right now, folks, so hopefully I don't die during this show.
Please don't die, Mike.
I'm trying. And it's just not a good scene. So I'll be very curious to see what the sponsorship desks look like, because if Coke's doing it, Coke owns Mountain Dew, don't they?
Yeah.
In every COD broadcast, every single one, they have Mountain Dew game fuel on the desk. Weirdly green screened in, but it's there. So that's going to be interesting, because I'd like to know how this is going to affect prize pooling, because I think the next championship is worth a lot for the finals for Cold War. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. It still amazes me, and this is just a quick in general to the thrust of this article, folks. I am still to this day amazed how much esports has become a thing.
Oh yeah, like
I'm not saying it's like bad or anything. It's just wow, like the sponsorship deals, and you know, it's like when gamers started breaking big, and you know, guys like, you know how years ago you talked when you got like a custom thing. It's like when Street Fighter 4 came out, and you were talking about getting like a custom fight stick, and I mean, you could get custom fight sticks based on specific players in the Street Fighter arena, and it's like when if you'd go to a skate shop and run into like Bam Margera and get an autograph on a new deck from him. It's like that big now, and it just blows my mind still.
And there's so many companies that are rushing to get into the custom controller market too. So like Scuff is normally a big sponsor of these events. Like I know Call of Duty League was running an event where, hey, you can win one of these custom controllers for the winning team or whatever. I hope they're evaluating. And since Mountain Dew pushed out G Fuel as a sponsor, G Fuel will hopefully stay far away from this, at least until the dust settles. And like I said, this is hopefully going to clean things up. So I hope Activision's board looks at, wow, we handled this fucking terribly. Bobby, get out. Oh, and you don't get your golden parachute because you lied to people. Now that's pure speculation on my behalf. That's what I hope happens. Because like I said, there's no way he didn't know. But we're going to move on to something more offensive, I guess, but in a funny way.
And
so
wholesome.
Wholesome.
Somewhat.
So this one, so this comes courtesy of Bloomberg.com. South Park creators signed massive $900 million deal with Viacom CBS. The expanding South Park universe will include new movies for Paramount Plus. The creators of South Park have signed a new deal with Viacom CBS Inc. that will pay them more than $900 million over the next 6 years, one of the richest TV deals in history. Trey Parker and Matt Stone will use the money to make new episodes of South Park for Viacom's Comedy Central network and to create several spin-off movies for the company's Paramount Plus streaming service. And the parties said Thursday that their first project under the new deal will be a movie set in the world of South Park that will debut sometime before the end of the year. The movie with Parker and Stone is the clearest sign yet of Viacom CBS' growing commitment to Paramount Plus. The streaming service trails the likes of Netflix and Disney Plus, but has added millions of subs since it rebranded in March. Viacom CBS is looking to the addition of South Park movies to accelerate its growth. The series remains one of the most popular TV show on Comedy Central. Cris McCarthy, president and chief executive officer of the MTV Entertainment Group, approached Parker and Stone about extending their deal with Comedy Central and getting some South Park programming that would be exclusive to Paramount Plus. The company's current strategy is to use the big hits on cable to lure customers to its streaming services. Earlier this year, McCarthy signed a new deal with Taylor Sheridan, the creator of the hit cable show Yellowstone, to create a spin-off show that will stream on Paramount Plus. At the end of June, Viacom CBS had more than 42 million subs across the streaming services, which include Paramount Plus, BET Plus, and Showtime. As giant media and technologies companies continue to compete in the streaming wars, the value of franchises like South Park have soared to record heights. Few, if any, production teams have managed to capitalize on the changes in the home entertainment landscape better than Parker and Stone, who own 50% of all online rights to the show. Their new deal, which cycles through 2027, covers 6 more cycles of South Park and includes 14 major streaming movies. We did a South Park movie in 1999, and we've never done another one because the show was so satisfying, Stone said in an interview from his home in New York. Now we're older, and the idea of what streaming movies can be is pretty promising. When Parker and Stone first created South Park based on a short film they made in college, they were nervous that nobody would watch, or alternatively, they'd be run out of town due to its outlandish humor. But the show, which debuted in 1997, was an instant hit, delivering millions of viewers and putting Comedy Central on the map. By the 3rd season, they'd stopped getting any more notes from the network on how to improvement. We do whatever we want, and they're pretty supportive of it, Stone said. We're the luckiest guys in TV in that way. South Park has now been on the air for 24 years, making it one of the longest-running TV series in history, outliving every program on Comedy Central except The Daily Show. Along the way, Parker and Stone have maintained the quality of the series, not to mention their sanity, in part the sticking to a schedule. They can make 6 to 10 episodes a year. Each season is produced over the course of a few months in Los Angeles. And then it just goes into more technical details. $900 million for fucking South Park.
Oh,
14
Daddy,
movies.
Can you pass the next Fabergé egg, please?
Yeah, like, holy shit.
Okay, first of all glory to our Lords and Master. I've been I haven't actively watched South Park for a few years now. Just I watch so much TV. It's just unfortunately one of the shows have been cut. So, and they only do 10 or 12 episodes a year. So it's not going to be that hard for me to catch up on. Jesus, 24 seasons of this. And they're going to make 14 movies? I guarantee you none of those movies are going to be a sequel to Orgasmo or Basketball, which I'm still waiting for, damn it.
Yeah, honestly, I'd rather they do a sequel to Basketball or Orgasmo than 14 fucking South Park movies.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be and that's the language there. It just seems a little weird. They're 14 movies, but I don't know if 14 South Park movies, I'll take 3 or 4 out of that set.
I mean, I guess they're meant to release so many a year.
Yeah.
But still, that's a little overkill. I mean, I guess if you got 1 a quarter, sure, maybe, I guess. But it has to be interesting. And I haven't watched South Park in a good long time. Just because my humor's changed. I've gotten older, but I can enjoy stupid shit every now and again, because there's some deeply offensive stuff on that show that I find hilarious just because it is so over the top. And I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to get, in trouble. But there's some pretty fucked up things on that show. But that's the point. It's fucked up. So good going, guys. You now have Jeff Bezos money, kind of, sort of, not really.
Definitely. I can only imagine that the negotiations ended with Trey Parker doing his Cartman voice, and before they got this deal, he's like, "Screw you guys, I'm going home." Because, dear Lord, and I mean, I love South Park. I do. I was out of like quote unquote gaming for a while, and because I played everything in my collection, I was bored, and I'm not I don't have connections like Mike to get stuff for review that you can then play at your leisure after the review. So when I started getting back in and getting a couple of fresh games, one of the first games I got was The Stick of Truth, which I thoroughly enjoyed. In fact, I might start a new game file tonight and do that because there's some drama with me trying to play Splinter Cell Blacklist right now and not being able to log on to my Uplay account. And that's just better left to the wayside. Yeah, no, this is wow. Like, that's an unheard of deal. Way to go, guys. Maybe we'll get a Team America 2.
There's actually a really good video on the making of Team America. I think it was called "What the Fuck Happened to This Movie" by Joe Blow. You guys should check it out. I think it's them, but I think it's called "What the Fuck Happened to This Movie." Team America. Good movie, entertaining, offensive as hell. Puppet sex is still funny. Okay, so let's move on to our next story. This one comes courtesy of superherohype.com, and I'm so excited for this. Neil Gaiman confirms the end of filming on Sandman's first season. Netflix can officially take credit for getting a Sandman adaptation off the ground. While answering questions on his official Tumblr page earlier this week, Neil Gaiman casually mentioned that the streamer has finished principal photography on the first season of the highly anticipated series based on his acclaimed graphic novels. While filming out of the way, the show is currently in the throes of post-production. According to Gaiman, this means fans must now sit back and wait while some of the series' movers and shakers render the visual effects, compose the score, and accomplish a variety of behind-the-scenes tasks. Gaiman couldn't offer any specifics as to when we might actually see some footage. However, he seems to believe that the show stays true to the spirit of the comics that inspired it. He also singled out the work of Tom Sturridge, who leads the cast of Sandman's cast as Dream/Morpheus. It feels like Sandman, added Gaiman. I don't know if that means that people who will watch TV will like it, although I hope they will. But I suspect if you like Sandman, you want to see it on the screen, then you'll like this. I also think Tom Sturridge will be the star after the season 1 of Sandman drops. A Sandman adaptation has been stuck in development hell since the mid-90s when the original comic was still riding its initial wave of success. The original plan was to produce a movie version, but after various filmmakers came and went, Warner Bros. Began to consider adapting the property for TV. Netflix secured the rights in 2019, and once the cast is fully assembled, filming kicked off last October. And then it goes into some of the people that kind of star in it, like Charles Dance, Jenna Coleman, Gwendolyn Christie, Patton Oswalt, and stuff like that. I am really looking forward to this. And speaking of Sandman, there's going to be another Audible book that's coming out, I think, in September. I think.
Mm-hmm. So I haven't. I remember hearing it was your review and another podcast I was listening to talking about that with the James McAvoy doing Dream, and that dude has a voice that makes me want to listen to him read the phone book. So definitely going to check out that next volume. And to be I remember my basis in Sandman comes from the old Jack Kirby comic from the 70s where the Sandman is this dream superhero who has these two sidekicks nightmares called Blob and Glonk or something. It's been ages since I've read it. And then I remember seeing the ads for this and Death, the High Cost of Living throughout the 90s. I always thought it was an interesting idea. I just never really got into it. But I guess it's by virtue of the fact that we're going to have this visual representation that, maybe I'll have to go back and check the original media out first. It's definitely something I love Neil Gaiman's most of his media adaptations. There's I forget what was they turned it into an HBO series, but they have that one movie. It's got the polar
American
bear.
Gods or whatever.
No, it was this. It was a fantasy film with this girl, and she's riding around in a polar bear that's got golden armor. and I think it's his Dark Materials or something. I might be misremembering things, but I've watched American Gods, and I knew about the book, and I about half read the book years ago, and I checked that series out, and I loved it. Although I got to go back and rewatch the last season because it's the last season. They're not making anymore, sadly. And I loved Ian McShane as Mr. Wednesday. Is the high point for my series. And what's his name? Played George McFly in Back to the Future. Played Marty McFly's. What's that?
Crispin Glover?
Yeah, Crispin Glover plays one of the villains in the series called Mr. World. And it just like all that creepy charisma he has just works so perfectly with that. So, and did you watch, was it Gods and Omens?
I actually didn't, surprisingly.
Oh, dude. Michael McShane and David Tennant are an absolute delight playing those characters, like in that adaptation. And it's, you know, it's not that all I think of David Tennant is like being the Doctor and being a good guy, but he plays such a bastard in that series, and it's an absolute delight. It's like when you watch the Fright Night remake and you hear the Doctor cursing like a sailor. It's so good. So I'm definitely going to check this out when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it in so many ways. Okay, so final story this week. We are going to talk about the Evil Dead game. This story comes courtesy of comingsoon.net. Evil Dead, the game, delayed until next year, but will now have single-player option. Evil Dead Rise photos may have gotten some Evil Dead fans excited for the imminent future of the series, but the news of the Evil Dead game delay swiftly came to balance things out. Evil Dead, the game, has been pushed to February 2022, but this new release window will result in players getting a new mode. The game's official Twitter account announced the delay. In the above tweet, it cited the need for extra polish, as is almost always the case when a game slips. However, it didn't give a specific date within February, but this delay comes with the good news. For those who don't want to play this multiplayer game online, Saber Interactive is implementing a single-player option with bots so people can jump in without other humans. This is helpful for those who want to get their bearings without the stakes being so high. The asymmetrical horror game was first announced at the Game Awards in 2020. The first bits of gameplay made their debut at Summer Game Fest in June, showing bits of classic characters from the films as well as the television series Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's still coming to PlayStation 4, PS5, Xbox Series X/X, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, in PC. I'm looking forward to this. I hope they've learned the lessons from Predator Hunting Ground, Dead by Daylight, and Friday the 13th, the game. If you're going to craft an asymmetrical horror game, your bots cannot be stupid. There is single player in Friday the 13th, but it's only here, accomplish this kill using this set of circumstances. It's fun, don't get me wrong, but you play it once and it's one and done. So yeah. I'm hoping they'll add a rough story mode or something like the Friday the 13th, accomplish these objectives and go from there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in a word, groovy. Mm-hmm. But the thing that this brings to mind, it's the opposite end of, like when we did on the last Sunday Funnies. Please listen to the show, folks. We have a lot of fun recording that. Like we spoke about how the sizzle had kind of left the stake for Black Widow because it had been pushed back so many times. And I mean, obviously, it's not the same thing because this is a game and that's a movie. But, when you keep pushing stuff back, even once or twice, you run the risk of losing all this steam. I'll do you one better and go back a little further in the timeline. Like, you've seen the 2 live-action G.I. Joe movies, right?
Yes. Okay.
So me and my roommate, I'm not going to give his name out. He's a brown guy because he's half Spanish and half native and gets mistaken for other cultures as well. We were incredibly hyped when that film was coming out. And we still go to Toys R Us now and again. I remember we went to Toys R Us and they got all the toys, like the action figures. I still have my G.I. Joe Retaliation Nerf blaster. I was all in for this. And then they held that movie out for a year because it came right at the dismal tail end of the 3D boom of the aughts. which, like so many other things, goes in like 20 to 30 year cycles. So it got pushed back a year, folks, because they were going to do a 3D upgrade and have both regular and 3D versions in theaters. And that, like, I mean, the movie still did okay. You know, we didn't get a sequel. We didn't get another G.I. Joe movie until this year with, you know, Snake Eyes Origins, but it sucked the hype out of that movie. Like, I still went to see it because it's G.I. Joe and it's starring The Rock. Plus, I think it's Byung Lee, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, the guy who played Storm Shadow.
Yeah.
In Rise of Cobra, and he was in the Red 2 with Bruce Willis. Like, I'm a huge fan of that guy because he is just so cool. And he was perfect as Storm Shadow. But yeah, like, I know so many friends who wanted to see that movie and it didn't come out. And that's, again, here, something that they run the risk of by implementing this, although it's something that fans really want from what I've read. So I don't think they're going to lose a lot of that steam.
No, and the fact that it's coming at the end of the financial quarter means they're expecting it to hit gold within a reasonable amount of time so they can build up hype and excitement and previews and everything. Kind of a weird time to release it, but because I don't think there's any major anniversaries or events surrounding the release. Like, I know Aliens Fireteam Elite, which comes out in just a couple of weeks, is celebrating. Aliens just had its 35th anniversary this year. So that makes sense, but I don't see the synergy with Evil Dead, the game. But hey, I'll take it. It's Bruce Campbell. You get to play as all these different characters. Deadites can help you. It's going to be interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to it. So I'll be playing it probably on Xbox Series X, but we'll wait and see. So anyway, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of the Nerd News. Coming up next, we're going to hear from Alex, and we're going to take a listen to one of the new RPGs he had a chance to sit down with. We'll be back, guys, right after this.
Alex here, and I am technically on vacation, but that does not mean I am not reviewing things. In fact, this is actually a better time for me to check out some of these longer games. And our friends over at Modus Games sent Cris Tales to us. We received it on launch day. So, you know, this is a 40, 50-ish hour game to complete. So that, juggled with a little bit less of a caseload and workload while I'm on vacation for the month of August, meant I took a more leisurely pace with this game. And I'm glad I did. This is the game that we talked about, a couple years ago when we first initially saw trailers for it at, I think it was E3 2018, maybe 2019, something along those lines. And we thought, cool, time travel or time manipulation, turn-based RPG. And it's pretty much exactly what we expected. It is a pretty well-made, if a little confusing, I'll have to get into that in a little bit, how some of the choices were for the color scheme. Now, I'll preface this by saying I am a fan of the artwork. I do think it's a beautiful game, but I also do think that it's a little busy, even with the hand-drawn designs being a little more basic, and it's not like we're seeing like a super high detail shaded picture. This is more like a cartoon kind of come to life. To me at least, there's something about the amount of color used and the way you perceive depth in the game that I find that the characters blend a little too easily into the foreground and background, and it can be a little harsh on my eyes. I encountered some frame rate juddering and stuttering playing the PlayStation 5 copy. I have talked to friends that have played the copy on Xbox Series X, and they encountered the same issue. So I don't know if it's a frame rate thing or if it's just the way the graphic engine works. And it was a little jarring on the eyes at first to see some areas in motion. It wasn't something I could recreate regularly. It's just something that would occasionally happen. But again, I will say, like, my only real criticism of this game, as far as what I personally, as a personal preference, don't care for, I don't care for how busy the color is. Like, how I love color in games, but when there's so much, it's like watching a stained glass window half the time. It's a little bit much to make out exactly what's happening. That being said, it is still a very lovely design. I do like the ideas behind it all. Audio is pretty standard for a budget to mid-range price RPG. Voice acting is stellar. Especially even people like, Talking Frog. There's different mages that do different things like time manipulation, nature manipulation. You have the ability to project people into the future or in the past, depending on where they are positioned on the screen, and that will have effects like, let's see, a good example would be if you get hit with a poison attack. Instead of taking damage over a couple turns, you can fast forward them into the future and then take all the damage at once, so you can heal it right now and then work on it again. You can find out if certain enemies are weaker in their past or in their future, and you then can send them into the future or the past to find their weak point and kill them. Cool ideas. It can be a little trial and error with some of them. It does have the mechanics that I like from like a Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo, where if you time your button presses at the right time as you do your turn-based attacks, you'll do extra damage or take less damage by blocking better. So that is pretty neat. They sort of took bits and pieces from different JRPGs and amalgamated them into this one interesting indie sort of painted RPG story. Now, it is not going to be for everybody, especially if you find that the colors are clashing a little bit like me. But there is a lot of replay value here that you'll end up probably doing over and over again, because the kingdoms that you're in have tons of side stories and side quests to do. The more of them you do, the more opportunities you'll have for different outcomes and endings. And there's half a dozen to probably more than that, at least 3 per kingdom that have different possible outcomes, which will then lead to different possible endings. So very Chrono Triggery on this end here. So make sure that you spend time working with different factions and different outcomes, and you'll be able to see a ton of different endings. It is worth the money they're asking. It's a budget price title. Like, you're not spending the full 80 in Canada or 90. It's a much more reasonably priced game. Now, as far as how it loads super duper fast, because we're on a PS5, right? And the graphics are not as intensive as, let's say, like a Ratchet and Clank or something, where it's really going to tax the system. It is pretty much buttery smooth just the whole way through. And it's priced right now, if you pick it up on Amazon, on any platform, last gen or current gen, you're going to be looking at about 50 Canadian if you want to get it physical, which is well worth it. I kind of aspire to JRPGs being, if I get at least an hour per dollar I spend when it comes to a JRPG turn-based, and that's not necessarily, I don't just go by quantity of hours. It's quality of the quantity, and this passes the ratio. At $50, you're getting a $50 value out of the game for sure.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria!
All right, folks, we are back with the weird news, the strange things that happened around the Blue Marble this past week. And, we're going to start things off with a story from the BBC.com. German pensioner given hefty fine for a World War tank in a house. A pensioner in Germany has been convicted of illegal weapons possession after he was found to own an extensive personal arsenal, including a tank. The defendant, 84, has been handed a suspended prison sentence of 14 months and has been ordered to pay a fine of £250,000 or 213,000 euros, give or take. I'm rounding off there. Officials found the tank and other World War II era military equipment at the defendant's house in the northern town of Heinickdorf in 2015. The army had to help remove the items. On Monday, the court ordered the defendant, who cannot be named under German privacy laws, must sell or donate the tank or an anti-aircraft cannon to a museum or collector within the next 2 years. According to the defendant's lawyer, a U.S. museum is interested in purchasing the Panther tank. Many U.S. historians argue it was the most efficient such vehicle deployed by Germany during World War II. The lawyer also said a number of German collectors had approached the defendant over several items, which included assault rifles, pistols, local media report. Local authorities raided the property in 2015 after receiving a tip-off about the building's contents by colleagues in Berlin who had earlier searched the home for stolen Nazi art. It took 20 soldiers almost 9 hours to extract the Panther tank, which was without its tracks from the property. Local media reported the man had been seen one winter using the tank as a snowplow.
Effective?
Yeah.
Very effective?
A little bit overkill, but hey, it works.
I mean, that he doesn't even have to step out in his front porch and shake his fist and tell the kids to get off his lawn.
Yeah, he can just point the anti-artillery weapon at them.
Just walks out there with his coffee mug, takes a sip, hitches his head towards the tank. The kids are like, yeah, let's not egg this house.
Yeah, like, that's amazing. And sometimes you do hear about people with old World War weapons, like in collections. I know in Canada there's a huge problem with people having like older weapons they shouldn't have, as in Canada where our weapons laws are very, very, very strict. But just, a tank in 9 hours and just...
Yeah, and it also makes you think about, like, just in general stuff that people have collected or pack ratted away somewhere that you don't think nothing. It's like, oh, it's just a bunch of kids magazines and somebody pulls out a stack of like almost mint Superman comics from like the 50s or something like weird like that. And it's just, how did he not get busted before 2015 with this?
Yeah, I know. It's fucking ridiculous.
Like, what did he shove this underneath the recycling in the back of the garage or something?
I know, right? So, thanks, scary German guy, for protecting the neighborhood from snowplows and invading armies. This next story
Monster Squad reference.
Pretty much.
5 points to you.
Thank you. So, according to Edmonton.ctv.ca, the Nathan Fillion Civilian Pavilion petition in Edmonton gets boost from John Cena and Margot Robbie. A petition to build the Nathan Fillion Civilian Pavilion in Edmonton has the support of some of Hollywood's biggest stars. Margot Robbie and John Cena, as part of the release of The Suicide Squad on August 6th, which was just the other day, backed the petition honoring Edmonton-born Fillion, who plays TDK, which I'm not going to tell you what that stands for until you see the movie. I 100% support this, said Margot Robbie, said on a Warner Brothers video. I really, really hope you succeed in this mission, Edmonton. I'm intrigued. I'm excited. I'm eager to watch how this story plays out, John Cena added. Fillion responded on Twitter, will we be painting it in vermilion? An Alberta town of about 4,000, about 2 hours east of Edmonton, shares a name with the scarlet hue. The city of Edmonton tweeted Wednesday that the name has a great ring to it and told people to stay tuned. The petition, created by Sonic's Lauren Hunter, had reached 17,000 signatures as of Wednesday morning. I'm going to check it right now.
I am on that, by the way. I believe I clicked on the link that you had posted on Facebook about this, because how could we not, folks?
Exactly. So as of this recording, it is at 28,789 with a goal getting it up to 35,000. So hopefully that will happen.
I'm saluting Captain Tight Pants right now.
It's funny. It's kind of heartwarming. And, hopefully Nathan Fillion gives back to his hometown. Because honestly, even if the city doesn't do it, even if Nathan Fillion were to do something, I think that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah. And this is kind of like the Canadian version of that RoboCop statue in Detroit in a way.
Yeah, which I recently found out. We talk about. I'm not sure whether I mentioned this in the Future Imperfect episode. The RoboCop statue was supposed to go in front of a science museum in Detroit, but due to COVID, it's not going there now because they can't afford it. So RoboCop has been sidelined, but this is literally just naming a building something.
Yeah.
So
and we talked about this like off mic. There is a slight rain cloud over this, and that's the some of the negative stories that came out between Nathan Fillion and his co-star of Castle, Static Katic. Like especially in the last couple seasons, I remember reading several articles and news reports talking about the bad blood between the both of them. And I think it was on your post on Facebook, somebody had posted an article where talking to Static Katic about how she was brought to tears by Nathan Fillion during the filming of the last season of Castle, which might be true, but I also read a lot of stuff about Static Katic kind of being a bitch. Well, bitch is the wrong word. A diva, shall we say.
Yeah, like I think how it boils down is obviously it could come down to he said, she said. Is he a jerk? Maybe. Is she a jerk? Maybe. Ultimately, I know someone who knows Nathan Fillion personally, and I don't think he would be that mean and vindictive, but I don't know Nathan personally. But I would like to hope that he's a good dude because he brings a lot of happiness to people, but as we've demonstrated in the last couple of years with things coming out and Me Too and I guess being accountable to what you've done, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
so
don't meet your heroes, kids.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me.
Yeah,
but I will say this: if Nathan Fillion can make this happen, I would love for him to do something really fun with the city of Edmonton. Come back from LA for like a weekend and just do something fun.
Yeah, because I mean, in Saskatoon here, we celebrate the late great Gordie Howe, who was born and raised in Saskatoon. Like, there's a statue of him here in town. Also, for a very brief moment, but he's still thought of as a Saskatoon boy. The hot rod, Rowdy Piper, was born and raised here in Saskatoon. I would love to see something about that. It's all about, celebrate your heroes, but be aware that they're also human. Because I would hate to see the immortal phrase from the Firefly movie Serenity where he says, "I aim to misbehave," become an actual goddamn reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's harsh. It's potentially harsh, but yeah, like you look at the Edmonton CTV News article, folks. Watch that tweeted video from Warner Brothers Canada, like just to see like the rest of the cast of Suicide Squad, like celebrating one of their own like this. It just it gives me the warm and fuzzies.
Yeah. So moving on to our next story. This one, so confusing. This one comes courtesy of consequence.net. The Offspring oust drummer Pete Parada for choosing not to get COVID vaccine. The Stickman insists that he suffers from adverse reactions to vaccine. The Offspring have apparently parted ways with dreamer Pete Parada. According to the Stickman, it's because he has chosen not to get vaccinated against COVID-19 due to medical reasons. Parada, who's been the band's drummer since 2007, explained his departure in a lengthy statement on Instagram, saying he has a medical history and advice from his doctor has led him to choose not to get vaccinated at this time. He added that, as a result, the rest of the band feels he's unsafe to be around in the studio and on tour. Back in April, the Offspring released their latest album, Let the Bad Times Roll, which marked their first studio LP in 9 years. It's also the first Offspring album where Parada played drums on the entire effort, having previously just appeared on 4 of the tracks in 2012's Days Go By. Huge, lengthy article I'm not going to read on him talking. I'm just going to read something else. Parada's ouster means the Offspring have parted ways with 2 members in the past few years following the accident exit of bassist Greg K. 2019. That leaves frontman Dexter Holland and guitarist Noodles as the only two longtime members of the Offspring. The Offspring are set to play a number of radio festivals in August and September, as well as the Aftershock in October and Welcome to Rockville in November. As of posting this, the band has not made any official statement regarding Parada's exit from the group. Now, the reason this is in weird news is because, for those of you that don't know, Dexter Holland, the lead singer of the Offspring, the guy with the fucking frosted hair, has a degree in molecular virology or biology. He's a fucking doctor. He's a scientist. And he wrote his thesis on something very close to COVID and viruses or something like that. Basically, how viruses work and RNA. It's a lot of gobbledygook I don't understand. But the guy's a scientist, and you're going to argue with a scientist who's been your friend presumably since 2007. So that's idiotic.
Yeah, the better part of 20 years. And, well, I mean, you read the article, folks, like the part that Parada said, talking about it. I mean, it comes from his condition, which was a Guillain-Barré syndrome, I hope I didn't butcher that pronunciation too much, which dates back to his childhood.
Guillain-Barré syndrome? Is that it?
Yeah, I think it sounded more intelligent the way you said it.
Now, it's funny you mention that. I have a family member who suffered from that, and he was in a coma for 7 or 8 months years ago, and it fucked him right up. Now, if Parada is telling the truth, totally get it. Completely get it.
Just looking at least on the Wikipedia, it says, the syndrome is a rapid onset muscle weakness caused by the immune system damaging the peripheral nervous system. Typically, both sides of the body are involved, and the initial symptoms are changes in sensation or pain, often in the back, along with muscle weakness beginning in the feet and hands, often spreading to the arms and upper body. Now, understandable, and if like the vaccine was going to wreak havoc on his body because of the syndrome, I get that. And just the way that, as a result, the rest of the band feels he's unsafe to be able to. Now, that's lawyer language, and it makes it sound a hell of a lot worse than it probably is in terms of their relationship.
But it also makes sense, because if these guys are playing venues with hundreds, if not thousands of people, you don't now, presumably, depending on where you are, some places require proof of vaccination to get in. Some places in the States have said, you know what, we're not having a mask mandate, or we're not doing that. I know the Ozarks and Missouri and places in the southern United States are not very friendly towards this right now.
Yeah.
So obviously, I hope this guy gets better. I love the Offspring. I understand Dexter's point saying get out. But if this guy's sick, I get it. It's just a little weird, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I would hope, given the long association that Parada's had with the band, that it wasn't simply Dexter kicking the door open, pointing him, saying GTFO. That they sat down and they had a conversation. It's like, look, this is how we feel. Like, I would hope that these guys who have been bandmates and friends for so long have, at least they had a conversation. It's like, look, dude, we don't feel safe, and whatever. And yeah, I mean, it's the Offspring. I mean, I've been listening to these guys off and on over the years. Like, I'm a fan. I'm not like whatever the Trekkie version of Offspring fans might be called. Like, I'm not, Offspring is life kind of fan. I enjoy their music. So yeah, it's sad to see, but it goes on in the article, him talking about he's going to be doing stuff with like his daughter. It's not like he's out in his ass and he's got no way of providing for the family. It's just shitty set of circumstances.
Yeah. So good luck out there, dude. Hopefully you find something, and hopefully life will find a way eventually to get back to normal. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay. Final story this week. We're going to end on sort of a funny note, I think. So, according to Gizmodo, the ISS backflipped out of control after Russian module misfired, new details revealed. Initial reports that the space station spun 45 degrees. The actual figure is far scarier. A NASA flight director has provided new details about last week's scary incident in orbit. in which a freshly docked Russian module inadvertently fired its thrusters, causing the International Space Station to roll backwards. The incident happened on Thursday, July 29th, some 3 hours after Russia's Naka module docked to the space station. As Russian crew members worked to integrate the newly arrived section, Naka's thrusters begun to fire, causing the ISS to roll backwards. Russian flight controllers eventually regained control, but for a 47-minute span, the situation looked dicey. At a press conference held later that day, NASA said the space station had shifted around 45 degrees. That's been a little incorrectly reported, said Zebulon Schofield. I'm pretty sure that's a very strange name. The NASA flight director in charge at the time told the New York Times. The actual figure, he said, is closer to 540 degrees, which means the ISS performed 1.5 backflips in an impromptu performance that would make an Olympic athlete jealous. When the ISS stopped spinning, it was fully upside down, requiring a 180 forward flip to regain the outpost's original position, as the New York Times reports. Concerned, I reached out to NASA to inquire about the discrepancy and how to confirm the figures provided by Scoville. In an email, a NASA spokesperson said the initial value reported by flight controllers, which was called up to the station's astronauts in real time, shared via NASA tweets live coverage, was 45 degrees. This value, according to the spokesperson, was being reported as the event was still unfolding. That is, as Nakua, or whatever, also known as the Russian Multi-Purpose Laboratory Module, so MLM, was still firing its thrusters, and as flight controllers were continuing to change the station's orientation, the value offered by Scoville, 540 degrees, was confirmed only after the post-event analysis was complete, the spokesperson explained. NASA maintains the crew of 7 was never in any danger, but as Harvard-Smithsonian astrophysicist Jonathan McDowell told me last week, this was one of the most serious incidents in the 24-year history of the ISS. The loss of attitude control and risky breakup of the entire structure. Scoville wasn't scheduled to work on Thursday, but following the docking of the module, I'm changing some words here, he was asked to fill in for flight director Gregory Whitney, who had to attend a meeting. At 12:34 p.m., Scoville noticed an error message having to do with the ISS-4 gyroscopes, which maintains the station's attitude control, and as the New York Times' Kenneth Chang reports. And so I was first like, oh, is this a false indication, Mr. Scoville? So then I looked up the video monitors and saw all the ice and thruster firings. This was no joke, a real event, so let's get to it. You get about half a second of breath of, oh, geez, what now? And then you kind of push that down and just work the problem. The module's thrusters had started firing, trying to pull away from the space station. It was securely docked to. Worse, there was no way to turn them off. His counterparts at Mission Control in Russia told him that the module was configured so they could receive commands directly from a ground control station in Russia. The next pass over Russia was 70 minutes away. The module attached to the ISS underbelly began to pull the aft section down, causing it to perform a backflip at the rate of 0.56 degrees per second. This spin wasn't fast enough for the crew to notice, but it was potentially enough to cause structural damage and to point the station's antenna away from their intended targets. And indeed, ground controllers lost communications on 2 instances, once for 4 minutes and once for 7, according to the New York Times. The station's solar arrays and radiators were also locked to prevent damage. Unable to disable the module's thrusters, Russian controllers counteracted the falling momentum by firing thrusters attached to the Zevia service module. Fearing this might not be enough, they also fired thrusters on a Progress cargo ship docked to the station. This 15-minute tug of war finally stopped when the module's thrusters suddenly cut out for reasons unknown. It probably ran out of fuel. With the attitude control regained, the flight controllers were able to right the ship. No further issues have been reported, and the Russian crew is now busy at work integrating the newly arrived 23-ton module. And then it goes on like this. That would be fucking terrifying.
That's like that, was it that Sandra Bullock and George Clooney space movie?
Gravity.
Yeah.
That would be fucking terrifying. Because
especially if you didn't notice it right away.
Yeah, like, think about this, because if something goes wrong in space, nobody can help you. And there have been deaths in space from the Russian side. I was actually talking to Aaron Paulier about this, because we might talk about this on Future Imperfect in a few weeks, the history of space exploration and probes and stuff like that.
Probes.
And just thinking about this, let's go through the nightmare scenario. Let's say the ISS loses control and it starts tumbling towards Earth and you can't get control back. You are going to be cooked alive as you break up on entry. Or maybe it fires off into space and it just floats past the moon or something. Now, obviously, there would have to be a number of things that would have to go wrong to have these nightmare scenario happen, but fuck, that could be really, really bad. But the image of a space station doing a backflip is in and of itself amusing. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. And to quote, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to catch heat for it, one of my favorite movies, Armageddon. Russian, American, all made in Taiwan. So, I mean, there's nobody here to blame. I mean, maybe it was a software malfunction. It could be anything. Maybe it was a false kind of radio signal that set things off. Shit happens in space. And shit happens more often than people realize, but it's never reported. Yeah. So,
for all I know, some Russian kid with like a really souped up PS5 was playing a Tony Hawk game. Is like, Ivan, did you do your homework? Just a second, mother. I'm about to do 740.
Yeah. What's this, mom? Indie kickflip, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thankfully, nobody got hurt. I'm glad things are okay. Yikes.
And when I read this, or like, have you seen F9 yet, Mike?
No, not yet.
Okay. I will not relay the thought I had then because it spoils something.
Oh, but you mean how they take a car in space?
Okay, then I don't have to worry about it. Yes, spoiler warnings if you haven't seen the movie yet, folks. But your boys, Tej and Roman, become the first members of Team Toretto to, they Jeff Bezos themselves, and they end up, they save the day, and you think they're going to die in space because they're like, fuck it, let's go out heroes. And then they somehow happen to make their way over to the ISS. And that's the only thing I could think of while reading this article. Like, but yeah, it's like, first of all, it's like if this module is 23 tons and it's like one, not like a 10th, like a 20th of like the total mass of the station that it was causing this. Like, again, they didn't catch this right away. So, I mean, they could have spaced 1999 themselves, out into the vast depths of the inky unknown.
Yeah, like something could have really badly gone wrong. But thankfully, nobody got hurt. Good. So we are going to close things off, and Alex is going to bring us up to speed with one of the latest releases on the Nintendo Switch. We will be back, guys, right after this, only on This Week in Geek, as we talk about what's going to be going on for the rest of the month. We'll be back, guys, right after this.
As I finish up my first week of my supposed vacation, where I'm just sort of working on the back end of the website and not doing any, on-air duties, I am still playing a bunch of video games that came in for review. One of these being something I was highly anticipating, and that is Blaster Master 03. I did receive a review copy from Inti Creates, and it's more of what you already loved. If you were somebody who was a fan of Blaster Master Zero, that was one of the first games I remember picking up on my Switch, because I had to switch the first day, and there was like 4 games or 5 games in the store, and as things started to roll in, Blaster Master Zero was a pretty anticipated title, and I picked it up. This is before I was officially working for the website. And, I picked it up and went, this is fun, on a friend's recommendation, because I remember playing a little bit of Blaster Master as a kid. I think I rented it or a friend had it, but it wasn't one that I actually physically owned. So what ended up happening was I had a great time with it, and then Blaster Master 02 came out. I received a review copy, and I was like, oh, this built upon the last one. And as we were going into this, I was wondering, are they making the third one? Oh, yeah, there was going to be a third one. And bam, they announced it, and pretty shortly after it came out. I am very happy that we're getting these retro-inspired games based on, the original properties. That this is the kind of thing where we used to see the turnaround time of being a lot quicker when they would develop a game for a Game Boy or a Game Boy Advance era sort of thing. And we're now getting this is like an HD Game Boy Advance game. Is probably the best way I can describe it. They've got different gameplay features added, like alternate dimensional stuff. There is fantastic level design here. And again, it's just, I don't know what to say other than it's more of the same, which in some cases could be considered a detriment to some titles. But when more of the same is more of the same awesome, that's a different thing altogether, and I'm very, very happy with it. The controls are tight. The graphics are just, ever so slightly, maybe a little clearer, just a little bit more. But there hasn't been like a dramatic change to the graphical engine or the style. It's just more of the same high quality pixel art, and just the controls, the action, the music, everything is tight. Best thing I can say is this is a very well polished retro style, action platformer game with tons of different gameplay mechanics that really make it worth it. It's retailing at about $15. You might find it on sale. It's 15 in the States. You're looking at probably $20 or so Canadian. You're going to get plenty of hours of play out of this and replay value. And now you've got, a trilogy out that you can go through. And if you're looking for something to pick up and play maybe an hour or so before bed and, just get those retro feels, you can't really go wrong with Blaster Master 03.
All right, guys, welcome back to This Week in Geek. And it's been a great show. It's been nice having JT here to help me out on the show. By the way, you free next Sunday?
Yes.
All right. Well, you're in the driver's seat. So me and Jeff will be back next week. But coming up on the site this week, I know Alex does some really weird kind of scheduling, but I know we have enough of Earth versus Soup to last us till next year. So Aaron Paulier and Darlene are machines of Borg-like efficiency. It's astounding. So yeah, we're going to have that. Since I'm producing Future Imperfect and Loose Cannon this month, we talked about RoboCop. We're doing Dog Soldiers for Loose Cannon. After that, we're going to talk about BattleTech. Basically, the question I'm asking, and I actually brought in a fairly big BattleTech YouTuber to talk about this, is how to introduce someone to a franchise like BattleTech that has so much lore built into it without overwhelming someone. You just show them the minis game. What if they want to play the role-playing game? What do you do? So we're going to talk about BattleTech, and be it the Clan Wars, the Succession Wars, the Dark Ages, it's going to be
the cartoon.
Yeah, the cartoon and the Somerset Strikers and how that fucked canon for a little while. It's going to be interesting to talk about, and I'm really looking forward to doing so. You and I will be doing a Twig Sunday Funnies on James Gunn's Suicide Squad, but we're also going to talk about some of the Task Force X comics or Suicide Squad comics. We'll probably pick one or two graphic novels and say, hey, here's some cool essential stories you should check out. You can check out the original David Ayer movie if you want, though we will never get the Ayer cut, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I have the extended cut Blu-ray. I'm looking at it right now. And little hint for what, when we talk about the comics, folks, the Suicide Squad didn't just start with the Ostrander series in the 80s. It's been around a lot longer. But we'll get into that when we record, teasers.
Mm-hmm. So good stuff. So yeah, we're also going to be talking about just other things that are exciting. I know for review right now, I'm working on some more D&D books. I just got the latest edition of the Doctor Who role-playing game from Cubicle 7. I got the Fallout role-playing game from Modifius. I've got Aliens Colonial Marines I've been talking about forever. I got some board games from Gale Force 9 now that I'm out of the hospital and vaxxed. My next door neighbor Liam, who was in the hospital, who almost died, is ready to play some board games. So we're going to start playing those, start talking about them from our good friends from Gale Force 9. And got some video games. I know I got a new Mark Meer game. A game, it's called Jupiter Hell for the PC. I'm going to probably play this week. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting little while here on the show. Very, very, very busy. I just recorded with Nerds of the Third Power last week. I don't know whether that's out yet, so wait and see. So other than that, that's pretty much what's going to be coming up on the show in the next couple of weeks. I imagine me and JT will talk about Shang-Chi and the Masters of Kung Fu or whatever it is in September for Twig Sunday Funnies. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of collaboration.
And I swear to God, when we talk about the Shang-Chi movie, I will not bitch about the Netflix Iron Fist series. I've said all I need to say about it.
Fucking A. So anyway, guys, until next time here on This Week in Geek, we have been
JT from Saskatoon.
I've been Mike the Birdman saying, be excellent to each other and get vaccinated if you possibly can. So we'll catch you guys again next time right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.